Hello everyone and welcome back to Krastorio 2. This is Otaku Showboat! If you've been enjoying this series thus far, please be sure to do all of the social and engagement stuff down below the video, including, but not limited to, hitting that great big blue join button that is right down there to become an erudite otaku and turn that button gray in the process. Behind me, of course, is the Ollie, who has just joined me on the back of the chair. The prettiest of pretty Ollies, who is almost 8 months old at this point. Dolly is also around somewhere doing something. So people want my blueprint book for the doohickey. Where even is... Hold up. Where this blueprint book, where is it? This one. It's this one that has like my train station on it. Stations plural. I mean yeah, sure. That's export, no, don't delete. Export to string. Copy the blueprint book string, and this blueprint book string is going to be made available on my Discord. I'm using it for my Space Angels playthrough as well. That's Angels Bob's Space Extension. And yeah, blueprintbook.txt. I'm gonna stick it onto my Discord after I finish recording today. For reference, the other blueprint book, the Foundation Rails blueprint book, is available by a link in my Discord to the Reddit thread that has the link to the thing on the Factorio prints. It's a lot of links to get to it, but anyway, this is not mine, and it's available through some other resources. I almost have all of the 1,000 green belt that I've been requesting. What? Okay, that's pretty nice, having all of my green belt now. Excellent. I have a baseline level of production of green belt to make the underground belts. Now that I have all the splitters and all of the loaders, now all of it's going to funnel into the production of the undergrounds, which means I can think about potentially adding the purple belts at this point. All of the purple stuff. Now this is going to use immersium and low density structures, as well as like the previous level of underground, the previous... Oh, this doesn't use the previous... for these at all. This uses just the previous splitter. Huh. That's nice. Here, give me a couple of stacks of those. And you do use the belt, you use the belt, and you use the belt. I'm going to limit this to 2 stacks. I'm going to limit this to 2 stacks, let's say. What's the distance here? 40! Versus 30. Plus 10 tiles. That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. Let's do some request here for stuff, and I'm not going to limit this chest. I will have to limit this chest. I will start making some of these, but it's the low density structures that's going to be the major issue here. I'm also not going to put modules. I wish I could productivity this, but I'm not going to do modules. That is the one major thing. I'm also going to be very much limited by the gear wheel production overall here. That's going to be the main thing that will limit me, because I have 1.4 per second on the immersium gear wheels, whereas, or I'm pretty sure I only have the one making those gear wheels. I have a whole bunch making the beams, but I only have one gear wheel. And this is going to consume a bit more than that. bit more than that, but we are actually limited here by the LDS coming in all actuality. And yeah, we're making a few things. Just a few things. Oh, I didn't give you a request. Cool. Have your request going. And that's the purples. Huzzah. My max level of belts. These do 90 per second versus 60 on green, so plus 30. That's great. That is absolutely fantastic. Exactly 3 times as fast as a red belt. Great. I'm just double checking my math. Yes. As a red belt. I like the multiples of red belts just for whatever reason. Okay, as I have done that, I was in the process of doing ore enrichment as of the previous video, and we are continuing with that today. I have obtained a significant amount of copper now. You know, I've got quite a bit more copper being produced, and it is now overfilling. I have 3 trains of copper going, and 1 is resting. So now I know that I have more copper than I am using. Excellent. The next issue to cover will be the iron production, because, well, there's how many iron trains? 3 moving iron around. It looks like I do still have enough, because this train is waiting, and these buffers are filling. So for the moment, I'm actually okay on my iron production. Do I want to take that time right now to copy this and paste it over at iron? Because it is identical. Completely identical. I'd have to add the input station to the iron and all of that. So maybe I will do that off screen, because it is completely identical to the copper. Which means that today it is time to get more low density structures, I think. That is the agenda. Setting up our beacon stuff on the LDS. Actually, plastic. Because I've scaled up my copper, I've scaled up my steel. Copper steel. The last ingredient on these is plastic. So let's get more of that going. And since I have 50 advanced chem plants, this is going to be glorious. It's also going to mean that I will need a lot more petroleum gas. Yeah. Lots more petroleum gas will be definitely required going forward to make that plastic. So we are going to focus on that today. Huzzah! Let's make this part of my to-do list. So this will be more plastic slash pet gas. There we go. More. MOAR. Actually, I should probably... Hold up. Edit. More. More plastic. How you doing? Okay. 50,000 units of landfill. I can probably cover partially this gigantic lake. I think this gigantic lake would take several 100,000 units. Several 100,000 units. 50 of landfill. 50k is not much. Hello? Not plastic. What's going on here? Well, I seem to need petroleum as it stands. Okay then. Step 1 is not this build. Step 1 is the actual petroleum gas and refining setup. Oh boy. There is not a better version of the refinery itself. I don't even know what I'm picking. Ooh. I can get the Spidertron. I can sorta make the Spidertron. Really? Cool. Let's get the tech at the least. Okay. The idea here is that I'm going to dramatically speed up some of this, including my pump jacks. Remember what I said about pump jacks and they're being limited by the amount of stuff. Every 100 units can be converted into 6 units of matter. Yay! What was the actual internal buffer on this? I've forgotten. I have forgotten the internal buffer in Krastorio of the oil. I think it's a bit, a fair lot. Like a lot. So let me do this beautiful thing. That's step 1. And then step 2 is the baconing. I mean, I'm not really using it all at the moment, so the big thing would be to get modules. Oh. Okay. Conceptually, is it better to use productivity with speed beacons or just speed the hell out of this? What are we ultimately saving if we use productivity? Because productivity is a savings measure more so an increased output measure. It saves on the original resources, ultimately, the base materials. So what does it save if I use productivity here? It saves water, and it saves crude oil. Are either of these limited? No. Not particularly. Not when I have the infinite oil in this playthrough enabled. Because since oil is effectively infinite, I don't have to increase the amount of output per unit oil when I can do it with speed modules. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. Now, there will be a problem here. There is a pretty massive issue in that pipes have a throughput. You can only move a certain amount of stuff through pipes at a given time. So this line here of 20 is going to, with these speed modules, consume 1,000 units of crude oil, which is running right up against that throughput of a pipe without pumps. I have a pump, so sure, we can get a bit more out of that. However, complicating matters is the fact that these pipes hold 125 units of fluid versus 100, and that changes the math pretty significantly. But we have initially solved our crude oil, our petroleum gas issue, sorta. Because I am now, by doing that, not only producing more petroleum gas, a bit, the 100 plus 150% here crafting speed thanks to these speed modules, I'm also producing more heavy and more light oil. And my cracking setups aren't built for that increased amount of stuff, which means I also need these speed modules on these buildings. But these buildings are chemical plants, regular chemical plants. And as of right now, I have better chemical plants that have a crafting speed base of 8 versus 1. That are literally equivalent of 8 regular chemical plants. Which ultimately it means that all of this is getting annihilated. This is the light oil cracking process into petroleum gas. This is step 1. Just to get rid of all of this. And all of this is going to be replaced with one advanced thingy, wherever that ended up, right there. One advanced version of you. Now, I put it a little bit further up because this is going to be surrounded by bacon. And this is the cracking into petroleum. It will get, / it will need a lot of water. Now, I can absolutely productivity this. And this is where I would want to do the productivity. I mean, yes, it does go all the way back down to crude oil, ultimately, the crude oil savings, but now we're getting more petroleum gas output from the light oil, which means that now that's a big boost to the actual petroleum gas that we're getting. This is where I would want the productivity, not so much here. Not so much here. You can think of it in the alternative by having productivity here as you're using a similar amount of crude oil, that your production of the crude oil isn't what's going to change, but how much of it, how much output you get for the same amount of crude oil changes, and you can end up with a lot more. But, yeah, we're going to think of it as a savings instead. Now, this actually belongs there. This needs to be moved up a few tiles, and that needs to be put there. It needs to be powered. And it will need a source of water, and that source is going to be off to the side a fair amount. And it's going to go, and it's going to do 48, but then it's going to get a lot of beacons placed around it. Why do I not have beacons in here? Yes, that is the pattern. There we go. Now this is able to process 1,008 units of light oil into 940.8 petroleum gas. You know, a little bit more. Just a little bit more. It's pretty glorious. I'm actually going to, if I can, shift that over one, shift this to here, and delete it so that I can do potentially another one of these next door. Now, that's light into petroleum gas. That is already significantly more petroleum gas than I was already producing. Significantly more. But we need even more. We need even more. Much, 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 much more. And yes, I know I didn't put the speed modules on these 10 yet either. I'm gonna beacon the hell out of these oil refineries. I have decided. I have decided this thing. Now, the thing is, the next thing that's going to start backing up, I would imagine, would be the heavy oil. Unless I have a overflow voiding of that somewhere. I don't think so. Lubricant is fine for now. As it is, I don't really need to think as much about the lubricant. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this. I'm going to do right next door the other one. Yes, the other one. Very, very specific there. I'm going to do the heavy oil cracking process next door. This is going to be this one. Heavy into light. It'll go up by 1 and it'll connect to whatever. Yes, to the whatever. This line. That's light oil. That's being input by the pump. And then it gets output into this cracking setup. This needs to go down 1. And then the heavy oil goes there. And now this is able to process a significant amount of heavy oil. A significant amount of heavy oil at a time into light oil, and this is then processing the light oil. A lot of it. This pumping speed is up to 18... Is that 1800 or 18,000? Hold up. Steel pump. Do I have any on me? Yes. 18,000 up to... It is fluctuating a bit, but we haven't filled this pipe fully. This is processing as quickly as it can, though. Oh hey, no more heavy. No more heavy. It's done. We no longer need any of this. Whoops, that's power. Hello, power. Power is awesome. And yeah, so that's getting all of the actual heavy processed. And it's a significant amount more petroleum gas in the end, after all that cracking. Now, after the locomotives have all gotten filled up, ideally I have more than enough on the petroleum gas. I'm gonna drink some coffee while I'm at it. Was that a light oil train filling? Huh. Interesting. Very interesting. So, more. The concept of M-O-A-R. More. I'm going to delete these. They're superfluous. Somewhat. Oh hey, we got techs. More! Gib techs! Better laser turrets, because whatever. I don't actually need these techs. Just yeah. No biters, no techs required. Now that leaves beacons. Beacons. This spacing, I think, is okay. And no, it's not. No, it's not. So, it's a little bit more difficult to do the beaconing of an advanced oil, of an oil refinery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to make it a little bit further away, and try to maximize the number of beacons around this machine in such a way as to allow for scaling. That is it. That is how many will work maximally. So, oh, water. I seem to have removed the supply of the water. Alright. This thing is now operating at plus 850%. I've got cat butt haunches on my shoulder. Hey, you. What are you up to? Did you just fart on me? They love doing that. They love doing that. They don't care. They don't care. They just go and do that thing. That's not a lot of stuff per refinery. Even with all these beacons around it. Huh. So, 3 of these. 4. 5. And then we can compare, right? So we can compare one of these with 190 into 104.5. Let's just look at it that way. 104.5. 190 into 104.5. If I get rid of this and I add productivity, 151 into 107.97. You actually end up with more petroleum per second with the productivity. Okay. Well, now I know, and I'm going to swap to productivity. So, yeah. In this very specific circumstance, you actually end up with more stuff. Less input, but more stuff. By having the productivity with the speed. In the case of 3 module slots, that's how that is working out. So now I have 6 of these. Excuse me. I said now I have 6 of these. Consuming 906 crude oil per second, but making a lot of heavy, light, and petroleum. So, more things. And I'm still, making enough crude oil to supply it without really doing much of anything to those pump jacks. Now, this is operating. It's not operating at 100%. Pretty sure this is operating at 100%, though. My concern is that I'm not outputting fast enough. Like, I'm not processing fast enough the light oil in this tank. And that I'm ending up with a backup on the light oil. A bit of a backup on the light oil. Which means... Please tell me I have enough stuff to do this one thing here. That can reach. That can reach. That's also now processing all of the stuff. Oh. I have reached the petroleum gas output limit. Yeah, I've reached a limit with my petroleum gas on the output oh, hello. Pumping speed 1,607 per second. That is my limit. Yes, this is filling, which means these are not voiding fast enough. I'm now voiding, which means I have room for more stuff. Each of these takes one speed module. You're kidding, right? Like you're joking. You've got to be joking. Okay. I have 3 of these. Have some speed. Have a bit more speed. Now it's processing at enough. I gather that that's enough to keep this flowing. I don't know. No, it's nowhere near enough. Okay. How's the production looking here? I mean, I'd rather this be the problem, to be completely honest. Just having too much. I'd rather have too much than too little. And yeah, now we are 1607. That is the pumping limit on these pipes. 1607. So if this is still backed up, that means I need to have another line or another pump, or several pumps. Let's add that in. This slightly increases. Oh god, 1640. $17.93. Is it enough? No. Of course it's not. Oh, you've finished. You're still at your limit, but this one is no longer at its limit. I think we're actually good. We have a solid green light here. That's fine. I think we are processing all of the light oil now, and the light oil is declining. That's what I wanted to see. The light oil is declining. It'll stop at whatever I set it to on the wire thing, 160,000 units. So once this hits 160, it'll stop shoving stuff, or it'll reduce the rate that it shoves stuff in, and then we'll be great. Excellent. That is all of that solved. It has been 34 minutes solving the petroleum gas issue here. The sad part is that I did not design this in such a way that it is very easily scalable. And I'm going to need a lot more of it. There's going to need to be a lot more reorganization of this so that it looks a lot nicer and is more easily scalable with independent lines of pipe and such. Like, what I would ultimately do, I think, is just have a set of these being fed independently, going into directly feeding into cracking into petroleum gas. Just dedicated petroleum gas production, just way more like, and then have that be a supplementary income onto this using an input pump into these right here, these guys, onto the trains, so that I have that. I'll probably do it on the other side of this. Okay, and now that I have that, I need to restock with additional modules and additional beacons before I can do the plastic upgrade. Gosh, I had intended this to be something completely different, a completely different type of video, going and doing more low density structures ultimately. But no, it's ended up as what this is, whatever this is, the more petroleum gas video. The oil at scale, oil processing at scale. That's what this has ended up being. And once I get to the mall to do my restock, that's where we will end things off for the day. I almost get hit by trains. Oh goodness gracious me. Almost getting hit by trains. I need to actually check my production of the copper ore, make sure that I'm not backed up, or that I'm not going through my warehouse. I am nowhere near consuming what I'm producing on this copper ore. That's nice to see. Anyway, with that, folks, I would like to thank you all for watching. This has been Otaku Showboat. If you have been enjoying this series thus far, please be sure to do all of the social and engagement stuff down below. And of course, please consider hitting that great big blue join button if you haven't done so already to become an erudite otaku. And make that blue button turn gray. You can also support me on Patreon at patreon.com/otakushowboat if you are so inclined and able to provide a bit more support than the membership provides. And I will, of course, be back next time where I will finish off the production of the plastic, the increased production of the plastic, and work on the low-density structures. I will see you all then.